my name is Amber Aguilar, and my speech topic is going to be over sexual harassment in the workforce. The point of my speech is going to be to persuade you to acknowledge and prevent sexual harassment in your workplace and everywhere else, not just there. So, I wanted to get started kind of like a little bit of a background. I myself have gone through sexual harassment at work, at previous jobs, several jobs as well, that have been really, really hard to deal with. And I know if more people knew about it, or maybe if I spoke about it, maybe people might be able to point it out and maybe have gone through it themselves and have no idea that they did. So for my visual aid, I work at a restaurant. I work at Escalante's. That's going to be the main workplace of my speech. I know that in restaurant industry, it is a hazard. It is horrible. Sexual harassment happens all the time. It is one of those big industries that it's very common, and that there's many, many reports everywhere that this happens. So the point that I brought my work shirt was that as a server, you go through a lot, not just outside, being with people, being burned, like my shirt's ripped up, it smells, it's disgusting, but also behind the scene, in the very, very back, things happen all the time that aren't supposed to. Okay, so let's get started. So, one 2013 study conducted by the EEOC, they reported that they found 75% of employees who spoke out against workplace mistreatment faced some form of retaliation. I myself can say that that has happened to me, that my previous job, I spoke out to it for the very first time, and I actually ended up leaving because my higher ups did not believe me or did not want to acknowledge it, and that was very, very hard for me because I really, really enjoyed working there. A lot of people, both men and women, face sexual harassment regularly or at some point while working. It's not uncommon. It happens to everyone. Some do speak up, but often too many people are scared to face consequences for it. Like I said, retaliation from their higher ups. That's so, so common in the workforce. Like I said previously, I have worked in an industry that's very, very heavy on sexual harassment. I've worked at Escalante's for over 2 years now as a server and a bartender, and I myself can say that I've been in the position that I've seen a coworker be put through it as well. So, what I really, really want to do and what I really want to get across to you is that I want to persuade you to think about these problems while you're at work. You might not think about it then, but I want you to think about it now. What solutions can be used to fix them? What can be done to help prevent them as well? And how can preventing them and learning the steps to prevent them, how can it benefit not just my workplace, but other restaurants and other workplaces as well? Now, the problems at Escalante's that are happening at Escalante's are affecting the lives of employees and so many people at their own jobs, something that, you know, your job, you don't expect for that stuff to happen, and it does. So the problems that happen. Many people don't know how to correctly identify sexual harassment. I myself didn't know. I was very ignorant to the whole situation because I thought, why would anyone ever want to hurt me in that type of way? Oftentimes people think it has to be physical, but inappropriate verbal remarks are also sexual harassment as well. And it's not supposed to happen, but it does. Employees don't know what steps to take when they are put in this position. I had no idea what did I do first? Who do I talk to? And that was really hard because if you don't know the steps, why are you going to say anything at all if you don't even know where to start? People of higher up positions, they take advantage of those below them because sometimes they don't care. They think because they're higher up, they're not afraid of the consequences that could happen to them. This also leads to the issue of people being too scared to lose their jobs, or people not wanting to tell the higher ups because they might not believe what they say at all. People of superior positions take advantage of them, and they oftentimes just say whatever, or don't want to acknowledge it, or don't want it to bring it across anybody's attention that stuff is happening at their place. They don't want to be accountable for it or anything of that sort. They just want it to disappear, I guess. So solutions to those problems. There's so many more solutions that there is. The first solution is to further explain to employees on how to identify sexual harassment. You know how to identify it, you know the steps to take to prevent it. Oftentimes people don't know that they're being harassed and they learn to brush it off, like I said earlier and over again. The second solution is to further explain to employees their rights and that they are put in when they are put in this position. Sometimes a stern no, like do not touch me, no, do not say that to me, that's a start, that's the first step. And learning to write the report as soon as it happens. Don't be afraid to talk to higher up authority and tell them what's going on, and that what's going on in their workplace, and your higher up hopefully will acknowledge it, but sometimes they have no idea what's going on. So you yourself have to take that step and explain to them and then write the report. Employees are covered by the federal or state law prohibiting sexual harassment and are required to take reasonable steps to prevent and promptly correct sexual harassment that occurs on the job. So that goes for everybody. That statement, the Sexual Harassment Act, goes for everybody. Finally, let's take a look at how solving these problems will further benefit employees at Escalantes. Not just Escalantes, everywhere, every workplace. Once you have finally stepped into putting into action your solution, let's talk about how it would further benefit not only your employees, but the environment that they work in. That's so important. Your environment's good, everything is good in how you work in, and everything is communicated with your higher up. It becomes great to work at. Establishing this as your workplace will help people realize what is sexual harassment and preventing it from happening in the future. The victim, as well as the harasser, may be a woman or a man. Like I said earlier, the harasser can be anybody. It doesn't have to necessarily be a man. It doesn't necessarily have to be the creepy old guy that's at your job. It can be anybody, and that's something that needs to be known, that it can also be a woman as well. You would never think that a woman would sexual harass somebody, but it can happen. It can happen both ways. People of higher positions will think twice before taking advantage of someone, knowing that they too can face consequences. If you know that you can face consequences, sometimes, it could go either way, but you won't do it. You'll be more on the protective side of wanting to protect your employees and protect the environment that they work in. Disclosure will help people feel safe at work by knowing that if they are put in this uncomfortable position, they can come forward and put a stop to it. Many times, if you have a supervisor that you can talk to and that you want to talk to and that you feel safe with, and so does everyone else, so many more things are going to be brought out into the open and more comfortable to talk with. So my summary would be, like we have discussed, Escalante's problems, solutions to these problems, how the company is affected by those problems, and how can it benefit from those solutions. Now that I have spoken to you about sexual harassment at Escalante's and other workplaces, I want you to make sure that whatever job or restaurant that you're at, that you put in effort and time to be able to speak up about these issues, because they're super, super important and people don't think twice about them unless it happens to them. So the main point that I'm trying to get out is that if you know the steps, know what sexual harassment is, you can prevent the issue and prevent it from happening in your workplace and your environment. And lastly, knowing that you're safe. I hope that whether you're a supervisor, employee, whoever you may be, I hope that you feel safe or have somebody that you can tell things that are sacred to, what's going on in the workplace, because if people know about it, the less chance of it is for happening.